Well, a little bit of Windows 7's in the news. I was reading I think an article from a Randall Kennedy of InfoWorld, and the article goes on to say that under the hood, Windows 7 is Vista's twin. At Microsoft's recent PDC, that's the Professional Developers Conference that's held, in Los Angeles. They do that every time Microsoft's about ready to roll out a major new platform of some kind. They have these PDCs. But I digress. Anyway, on the heels of Vista, arguably one of the biggest disasters in Microsoft history. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, okay? This is Randall Kennedy's opinion. I'm going to give you mine here in just a minute. But he goes on to say, on the heels of Vista, one of the biggest disasters in Microsoft history. I got to disagree there. I'm going to say Windows Me was probably a real unmitigated disaster. Anybody remember Microsoft? I don't know. But anyhow, Windows 7 was about to be revealed. A blast of fanfare, and chief software architect Ray Ozzie took stage to pull the wraps off of the new desktop operating system, which would deliver better performance, an improved user experience, and some nifty media sharing features. The crowd salivated a chance to play with Microsoft's latest and greatest. He goes on to say, as a Windows desktop blogger of InfoWorld, I was drooling too. When I got my hands on Windows 7 pre-beta, distributed right there at the show, I immediately installed it and began running tests. Well, first off, that's a good sign. If you remember when Vista was released as a pre-beta, a lot of people couldn't even get it to install. So I think that's a good sign that Windows 7 is probably going to be much further along at this point in time than Vista was at this point in time. But he goes on to say that he immediately installed and began running tests, and he did analysis of the changes or lack thereof that consumers might see for a deeper dive into Windows tests. He goes on to an article he calls Windows 7 Unmasked. The more he dug into Windows, the more I became convinced that I was dealing with an operating system that was slightly tweaked, nearly baked version of Windows Vista. I've kind of heard this all along, that Windows 7 is actually Vista Service Pack 2, all these sort of things. I think Microsoft is working through. They are tightening up the code. They're dropping. It won't come with like Windows Mail now. It won't come with Movie Maker. They're stripping out a lot of the stuff. They're trying to slim Windows 7 down. And if you see the new taskbar, I happen to like that. It's going to be, I think there's some big improvements in the user interface, but nevertheless, Randall goes on to say, if any pre-beta software ever called for a close look and benchmark testing, it's Windows 7. So he rolled up his sleeve and dove in, and I started examining Windows 7's innards, the kernel, and other low-level structures, and they slowly worked kind of the way back out to the subsystem behavior and application runtime characteristics. And he looked for signs that Windows 7 would be faster, more responsive, and less resource intensive than the bloated Windows Vista. Bottom line, so far Windows 7 looks, behaves, and performs almost exactly like Windows Vista. And it breaks all sorts of things that used to work just fine under Vista. In other words, Microsoft's follow-up to the most unpopular OS release since Windows Me threatens to deliver zero measurable performance benefits while introducing potentially crippling compatibility issues. Well, in all fairness, this was a pre-beta of the software. Microsoft wants to make sure that the end user experience when they really upgrade from Vista to Windows 7 is a lot smoother. A lot of things won't break. They're using the same basic kernel, and that's good. The Windows device driver model, same thing. Is it Vista? That's the question. Is it Vista just with some tweaks here and there? I don't think so. I think there's going to be some substantial changes in Windows 7, particularly in performance and usability of the operating system. Let's give Microsoft a chance to get the code tightened up on this, performance tune the operating system, clean up some areas. Let's really, when the first public beta, I think that's going to be, in my opinion, the best time to start really comparing Windows 7 to Vista. Right now, I think that this is kind of an unfair scenario. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It may very well be as big a turkey as Vista is. Who knows?